For you on this week's Captains of Industry. Recurrent droughts and floods, Kenya is already feeling the effects of climate change. Kenya Climate Innovation Center offers incubation, capacity building and financing options to small businesses and entrepreneurs developing innovations to address challenges of climate change. Well, KTN's Brenda Kirubo spoke to Edward Mungai, the Chief Executive Officer of the Kenya Climate Innovation Center, in this week's episode of Captains of Industry.
Edward Mungai is the Chief Executive Officer of the Kenya Climate Innovation Center. KCIC offers incubation, capacity building and financing options to new, small and medium business ventures and Kenya entrepreneurs that are developing innovations to address the challenges of climate change. Before joining KCIC, Mungai was the East Africa region head for the Danish International Investment Fund. Thank you so much for giving us this opportunity. We really appreciate. A lot of companies talk about climate change, but not so many of them actually implement sustainable solutions. Is this true?
Well, it is indeed. There is a lot of conversations about climate change globally and also locally. And I think the misconception is that, or the dilemma is that people do still not have tools, they do not have the knowledge, and even sometimes they don't have the goodwill, to do things that then will transform their activities to be more climate respecting.
All right. Is sustainability the new way of doing things? Is it the new standard of operations?
Indeed, sustainability is the new way of doing life. I mean, we talk about finance. It will transform to sustainable finance. We talk about production and manufacturing. It will only be sustainable manufacturing and sustainable production. And the essence of this is that customers are consistently asking for sustainable products. And we've seen a movement for sustainable consumption, even locally here.
As much as companies are doing their part, should government also introduce regulation in a bid to foster this?
Private sector, which is companies, must be able to act. For them to act, we must also be able to provide them with an enabling environment. That enabling environment will come from government, both in terms of policies, in terms of incentives, and also in terms of, taxation regimes, and also, preferential kind of treatment in terms of procurement and things like that.
Is it difficult pitching to investors sustainable solutions? Conversations
between investors and those who are seeking money was sometimes very traditional, kind of plain vanilla, where it's about internal rate of return. How much money do I make from this transaction, from the perspective of investors. But in the recent years, about 5 years ago, we started seeing some, tilting of that conversation towards more sustainability embedding within investments and within projects.
So we are moving to purpose over profits?
I think it's more towards that. When you come about purpose, we are talking about profit, we are talking about planet, we are also talking about people. Is, a trajectory where we bring these three facets together, and therefore we talk about triple bottom line, and that is the future.
So what does tomorrow look like, in effect, to climate change?
Well, mixed feelings, actually. For our continent, when it comes to climate change, we all must be able to take action, individually, as organization, as government. And if we miss the boat, already we are talking about above 1.5 degrees centigrade. If we don't do anything, then we will be in a crisis. The good news is that we have seen government, and especially like the Kenyan government, being very progressive in this. They've just they've just revised the national determined contribution to 32% of emission from 30%. And that's a commitment from government. We need also commitment from, from private sector. We need commitment from academia.
So, Edward, what kind of legacy do you want to leave behind?
For me is, transformation of lives. I take it very deeply into my heart that, when I was born, I cried, whereas the people who are surrounding me, they all rejoiced. When I die, truly, I want to rejoice. I want them to cry because of the difference that I'll have made to this world. And that difference is about livelihoods. What transformation have you made to people, both in terms of how they produce, but also in terms of behavior and, awareness about these things. And hopefully, before I die, I can have